Hey guys, so excited to spend some time with you today. This is Joshua Host, here with our my partners and our chief science officer, chief clinical officer, Dr. Nayan Patel, and our chief our director of clinical excellence, Dr. Bimisa Augustin. And so excited to spend some time just talking about the origin of Thrivelab, our purpose and mission, and what we're so passionate about here today, as far as in this conversation. So I guess I'll just talk kind of briefly about just origin of like how I came here, and then I'd love to open it up and so I can share the incredible folks on the team, and they can share their story as well. So 10 years ago, I was hit by a car where I strapped into a road bike that left me with a traumatic brain injury. And after seeing specialists and then put me on drug treatment plans, my side effects were increasing and my symptoms weren't going away. I ended up reading a paper by Harvard Medical School on the off-label treatment of traumatic brain injuries with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And within 30 days of starting treatment, my brain turned on. And I was elated because I was really afraid at the time. A lot of people were counting on me, and I felt like I had a new lease on life. And at the same time as well, too, I was obsessed and wanted to understand who else was dealing with it. I started going to different conferences and learning from specialists, and discovered that we're in the beginning of a hormone imbalance epidemic. Along that journey, I've had the fortune of meeting some truly exceptional clinicians, thought leaders, and folks that are changing hormone health and how it's accessed for patients. Because right now we have over 84 million folks in the US alone that are suffering from a hormone imbalance, and only 12% will find treatment. The mass majority are going to be misdiagnosed or rejected for care. And so I have the incredible fortune of introducing, we'll start with Dr. Patel. It's like the next person to the right of me on the screen. So I don't know, maybe Dr. Patel, if you want to kick off and talk about just your journey with Thrivelab.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks for including me on your journey as well. And what Josh just explained, I was probably one of the pharmacists behind the scenes trying to make all the medications for the doctors that they were trying to help these patients out all the time. And my journey as an HRT specialist started way back, even before I went to pharmacy school. I'm a pharmacist by trade, and I started pharmacy school in 1992. And my first gig was actually at a compounding pharmacy. So it's like, oh my God! Even before I graduated, I was already involved with making medications and learning about compounding, and not just compounding any medications, compounding with hormone replacement therapy. So I've been in this industry for probably close to 30 years now, just basically just helping make medications compounding. But over the years, what I have seen is something that else can say the same thing, is that I have analyzed prescriptions for well over a couple thousand doctors all over the United States, and how they prescribe medications and how the outcomes are measured. And so when Thrive was launching their pad, I was very excited to learn that they had the same mission as I did, which was, can we get outcomes? Can we help patients achieve the best outcomes for themselves? And I had my protocol to say, you know what, this will be a perfect way to mirror my protocols, their approach, and get the outcomes we want. So when Joshua, when you came by and asked me the questions, hey, I would love for you to at least consider joining us and just checking things out. And I was so pleased to at least I wanted to at least give it a shot. And so when we went to El Salvador together on a like a small 2-day retreat, that's when the aha moment came. I said, "Oh my gosh, yes, I can do this thing. I mean, this is something that is in my wheelhouse, and I would love to see results in the patient's firsthand, because I've seen the results as a back end from the doctor's point of view, but I now see the results as a firsthand. So this was my opportunity to join the company and see the results in firsthand. And I'm so happy to be here today to just tell you that in this last one year or so, that we have been able to help patients like six folds, I believe, or maybe more than six folds, I think. But it's incredible to see when the results are there, how fast we can progress. So So, Joshua, if you can, I would love to see if Dr. Bimisa can go next.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Patel, for your background. It's been such an honor to be on this journey with you and with Dr. B and with the rest of our team. And I remember when I first talked to Dr. B, and I was so blown away. And Dr. B was the very first clinician that had joined. And when I met her, she was so electric, a combat medic, and her amount of gusto for patient care and being a service for others, her desire and passion around impact was just so magnetic. And now being together for over 2 years and watching the outcomes that Dr. Patel has had or Dr. Augustin has had with. You say Dr. B. We will say Dr. B. That Dr. B has had with her patients is just been it's been like constant miracles, and just watching as far as the patient testimony. And so would love to pass the mic, Dr. B, to you just for your experience and journey with Thrivelab.
Oh, thank you. So I first want to say thank you, Josh, for being such a fearless leader. And I thank God every day that I got a chance to meet you on January 8th, 2021. Oh my God.
I love that.
I really appreciate the fact that I have such good colleagues. Dr. Patel, you have been a wealth of knowledge. And I will follow you guys to the end of the earth. Okay. So I absolutely love it. My journey actually began, yes, as a combat medic, 6 deployments under my belt. I just had so many comorbidities on top of PTSD. Okay. I didn't get a traumatic brain injury, but I had other issues, a really bad left leg surgery 3 times. And I don't believe in taking pain meds. I've actually had 3 surgeries on my left leg. So I wanted to change some things. I was like, why am I 28 years old dealing with migraines every day, dealing with hypertension, on antihypertensives and being diagnosed with PTSD, a major depressive disorder. And I was like, I'm not psychotic. I mean, it happens, but I'm not. I am human, and I did enjoy my time in the military, but I didn't want all these meds thrown at me. So I felt like I needed another way. So I wanted to step outside the realm of conventional medicine, and God opened the door for me big time, because I met Josh and I met Jordan, and I was able to be a human. I was able to, that was the first time I actually cried. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to tell my story and I get to meet other humans just like me, so I wanted to make a difference, not just put a Band-Aid on what someone is telling me and say, okay, come back in 6 months and then I'll change your meds if I have to. I get to interact every single day, even when I'm in my clinic with different patients. They email me, they tell me how great they're feeling. They do different. So I took that into my civilian life, and I do spread the word, about Thrivelab, and the joys and the things that BHRT has done for me, also to the veterans. I live in a community where there's over 120,000 veterans. Okay. And active duty alone. And then, they have spouses, so I'm seeing it every single day, how male and female, they're just not feeling well. They're not aging gracefully. And I can say, honestly, at the age of almost 44 years old, I feel great. I'm off all antihypertensives. I'm only on nutraceuticals, but I love them. Go Thrivelab, because the longevity blend has done wonders. I'm back out to being the adrenaline junkie that I was, when I was in my 20s. I've lost 40 pounds since then. So, and I asked Josh and the team not to remove my professional headshot from when I first started, because patients actually see this and they're like, oh my gosh, like that cannot be you. I feel like I'm aging backwards. And BHRT has been such a blessing. The depressive mood is gone. But yes, I'm still human. I still get aggravated. I still get upset. I still cry, but I'm able to get over it. And, and I can't say enough about Thrivelab. It has done so much for me. And that's even outside of any other perimenopausal issues that I was having. But all in all, it's just mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. Thrivelab has been such a blessing to my life. And I just want to say thank you to both of you guys, and to the whole team, for being on my side and by me.
That's so beautiful, and I remember just how magnetic your story was, and how it's interesting because I think that I was patient zero, and then you were patient one. And clinician one, patient one. And also, you're the doctor for Pia for my wife as well too. And so, it's been beautiful to see as far as our team has grown. And I think what one of the things I've noticed is we have obviously a very mission driven team, and as folks that are so focused on purpose and living a life of service, and we're all looking for how to turn 1 ounce of effort into 10 pounds of cure. And what we realize is by uniting around this mission of making hormone health accessible and affordable nationwide, we've been able to multiply our efforts to change patients' lives. And what's crazy is now seeing, 3 to 7, 5-star reviews come in a day. And it has nothing to do with like the validation, at all. I think what it is though, it's watching the benchmark of changing patients' life come to fruition. Because, I've been shoulder to shoulder with both of you guys, and I know your hearts, and I know how important it is to you as far as the effort and energy you're putting out to ensure that it's magnified. And so, with having is something that we're at this impasse with hormone imbalance. It's interesting because I remember even like a few years ago and talking with folks about hormone health. Most folks were completely unaware, and the healthcare community as a whole, both of you and talking to clinicians around the country realize that. And Dr. Patel, as an author, as really one of the clinical leaders in the space for over 20 years, serving over 250,000 patients in hormone health. You've seen as far as just the gap in understanding from the healthcare side and what that's translating at. And I'm curious, maybe if you can talk about where do you think the gaps are? Like, why are so many patients being misdiagnosed?
It starts from education. So the providers are not provided as given the proper education on to dealing with this hormone health is the primary concern. Um, I'm always going from conferences to conferences every single year and trying to learn from there. Is it going to help the providers getting the knowledge to help the patients that are actually seeking this help? And I'm sad to say that is the conferences that they're putting out there right now are very minimal, and the education
Yeah.
level is not there. And so the providers, if the providers are not trained, the patients are not going to get the care. So the patients are looking outside now to see who else is out there who is specializing in this
Wow.
industry that can help us. And so I'm so glad that Thrivelab, even though we may not have uh, a proper background of complete medical history or medical team, but what we are specializing in one area that is
Yeah.
literally people are not being there's just been abandoned, which is the hormone health. And it starts from not just the sex hormones that we're talking about, but we're also talking about the thyroids and the insulins and the cortisol, the stress management. And when we talk about stress management, nobody wants to deal with it because it's so hard, it's so difficult. And so making those protocols that are in bite sizes so everybody can follow through and make sure they can achieve success for themselves is what we want to pry upon. And
It's
and so
beautiful.
I'm on this journey with all of you guys to make sure that we put protocols in place that the patients can actually see themselves doing it. Because if you put a protocol that is so far-fetched the patients do not want to do it, then guess what? We just lost the customer. We lost a patient on this journey. So we want to put simple ideas, simple treatment plans that can help patients take the first step. And when to become a great leader, you have to start. You don't have to. You don't
Yeah.
have to. You don't have to be a great leader to born with. You have to start someplace, and we want to give them the step by step measures to start and achieve success for themselves. So that's what I see as what we can do or we should be doing.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it seems like one thing that you had mentioned as well too is just this kind of provider patient partnership and making sure there's awareness and education on the provider side, and then making sure that the patients are able to access providers, the right provider in this need for specialization. Dr. B, you've been so instrumental in the 90 Days to Thrive mentorship program with providers. What do you what is how do you feel that this emotional engagement piece of Thrivelab, of spending so much time with patients on the front end, translates into patient success in finding their that correct level or optimal level of hormone health?
Um, from a lot of the reviews, you can see that a lot of patients are like, "Oh my goodness, I actually felt heard." Someone is going to sit there, interact with them, and not just reading from some script or some, you know, I call it like a chain effect. Like, okay, you are this patient. That means you're every patient. So I'm gonna treat you with this, this, and this. It's not that way. So we talk to them on a mental level as well. So if they need to vent about something, they can, and then they can tell us, okay, this is actually taking effect probably because of this. They're feeling upset. They can cry to us. They can just open up and feel like we're not those providers that are just going to look at them
Wow.
like, okay, well, you know, try this, because
Wow.
I don't know what to tell you about this. We're not just treating one thing. We're actually taking care of the patient as a whole. Um, a lot of patients come in not feeling good just they're feeling horrible, and they've been
Yeah.
feeling this way for so long. And
Yeah, they
a
forgot
lot
what
of people
normal
are
even feels
told,
like.
yes, and a lot of people are told that, hormone therapy is so taboo, oh my gosh, it's
Right.
going to cause cancer and you're going to die. And they are
Right.
so afraid. They ask a list of questions, and I usually tell them when they're on the call, if there's a question that you have, I need for you to stop me. Get me off my soapbox. Ask that question because I don't want you to forget it. And
Yeah.
then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it, and then I'll get back on my soapbox, you know. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh my gosh." And usually by the time that 45 minutes to an hour ends, every one of their questions has been answered. And they have never been able to sit down and have a provider do that with them. I mean, and then after that, it's like, hey, I want you to come to my daughter's wedding, or I want you to come to my restaurant, or something, because now they feel like they have a relationship with their provider, and it's not just, oh, provider patient. I actually have someone I
Yeah.
can talk to. I actually have a friend,
Yeah.
and it's also great that we're doing this on a virtual platform, because even they will ask me, where are you at? And I'm like, Texas. Oh my gosh, well, I'm like in Tennessee, or something. And it's great. They're like, we didn't realize that providers like this actually existed, and then the fact that they can talk to the PharmD, and they're just blown away. So it's definitely making big changes in their lives. We still have, some growing and changing to do, but I think right now the platform that we are in and that we are working is like doing amazing things for patients all over the United States.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think for most of us have seen, going to the clinic setting in the past, spending an hour waiting to see the doctor. The nurse comes in, takes a moment with you, takes your vitals. Doctor comes in for 5 to 10 minutes, and then makes a diagnosis and prescription, right? And you're like, well, are you sure you even heard me? Like, we didn't even talk. Like, we didn't spend any time together. Do I trust this plan now? And just the even idea to be able to spend 45 minutes to an hour with a specialist, as Dr. Patel was saying, in this area, like that's what our providers are credentialed around. That's what they're trained around. The senior clinical team, this is their last 2 decades of experience. And to have that, 3 times the national clinic average to spend with a provider, this is what we're seeing as far as in patient testimonials, right? They're saying, like, this is the first time I've ever felt listened to. This is the first time I've ever felt connected or cared about by my provider. One thing I had a question on, Dr. Patel. I've always been so moved, by your how you describe the pyramid, right? Because it starts at top with the sex hormones, and I think if you could, this has been so powerful as you explained it for me in my life, my own health journey. I don't know if maybe you can share as far as with listeners of what this pyramid is and how this translates into their health.
Absolutely. So to me, the whole pyramid describes all your problems. All your problems are coming from that. There are hormonal problems, right? We saw that, or all most of your endocrine problems. But all the problems starts from, and I divide them into four phases. The base of the pyramid, which is the big chunk of the problem, comes from cortisol, which is your adrenal glands or your stress management, which you and I know nobody wants to deal with stress management because they think that it's out of their control. How can they control what's going to happen to them at work? How can they control what's going to happen to them at their house, or financing, or road closures, or bad weather, or whatever, right? Or pandemic, or there's so much different stressors out there that they think they don't have they don't have control over that. But that's the biggest chunk of the concerns are right there. Right above the cortisol is the next big chunk is insulin, which is your diet. Your diet reflects how your body responds to it or reacts to it. Reacting is bad, we know. Responding is positive. But based on your eating habits or your nutrition plan, it's going to affect your hormones, and it's also going to affect how you feel. And about that one, which is a smaller section, is your thyroid gland. The thyroid affects, even though it affects every cell in your body, it is there, but it's not as big as your diet and your stress management. And then comes the hormones, the sex hormones, and that's the tip of the pyramid. But the sex hormones is what we have in our tool bag to treat with all the problems. If you have so many problems and we only have small tool chests to deal with all your problems, that's not going to work. So when Dr. B said that we spend 45 minutes to an hour sometimes to listen to every single thing, is because why? Because we want them to use the hormones to gain control of their body, to deal with the stressors, to deal with the diet, to deal with
Yeah.
every single thing that comes to you, so that the hormones become more effective. And it's not just giving you, anybody can prescribe medications, but what it is the giving the medication with the right knowledge and the right support, which Thrivelab does, is the fuel to go from where you're today to a successful person.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's been really impactful in my life, and I every time I hear it again, it I think adds some additional depth as far as for me. So it's great to hear. One of the things that we've identified, women are disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to access to hormone health, because of the complexity, and also because of the perceived liability. Dr. B, I was wondering maybe if you could just share your thoughts as far as on why it's so important as far as that, for our focus on women's health, and making sure that, women have, access to high outcome, affordable care.
Well, women are kind of like superheroes. Okay. So we tend to manage a lot of things in our lives at once. Our stress levels are, I would say, a lot higher because we react, a lot different than what males will to certain situations. I mean,
Yeah.
we can carry 15 different things in both hands at one time and then try to take care of everything all at once.
Yeah.
Well, if they're not feeling well, the fatigue starts to set in. They can't move on with their everyday life. They can't function. Their relationships fail, even with their children, because they don't want to talk, or they're just having these depressive episodes. It is so important for women to be seen and heard, especially when it comes to their hormones, because there's a lot of balance that is absolutely needed, for us to carry on a day-to-day life. Josh, I'm a crazy multitasker and I love doing it. I'm not stressed about it at all. It keeps my life wholesome, dealing with the 6 kids, and, dealing with the husband, and dealing with the ailing parents, and, and then my patients. I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it. But I can say from a personal experience, not feeling well and not realizing until Katie Jo came into my life and was like, Dr. B,
Wow.
this is what's going on, that my hormones were totally imbalanced. I mean, and I was like, I never thought about it. But I myself, even as a clinician, I went to my primary care at the VA hospital and still was not heard. I was like, I'm not seeking pain management. I'm not seeking,
Antidepressants,
antidepressants.
SSRIs.
I'm not
Yeah.
depressed. Yeah. So, it was just, it took just that shift, and that help from Katie Joe when she did the home visit with me, um, to see I was on the inside. I wasn't on the outside anymore I was on the inside, and I'm like, wow. Wow, like
Yeah.
it blows my mind that I can be both a clinician and a patient and realize that, oh my gosh, these changes are happening in my life and I'm a woman, you know?
Yeah,
So
you've been such a powerful testimony. I know to other patients that I've talked to, and also other clinicians that have joined just your journey. It's interesting. Just watching the women around me, how they take care of everybody,
yes,
and have the least amount of time for their own self care. And so, I think for us, it's been such an honor to have that focus on ensuring that we can drive outcomes, compress time to outcomes as well too. So then that we can fit it in that window. And that was one of the things I was so taken by in my time with you, Dr. Patel, is that for the last 2 decades, you've really specialized on the men's health side. But as you said, like that's a little bit more simplistic. There's not as many levers there. You know what I mean? So it's like you took that on and you're like nailed it. You know what I mean? And like there's certainly things to stay on top of. But our men's health side, we patients are seeing such phenomenal outcomes. And on the women's health side, because of the complexity, you've also made sure to keep that as a central focus. I'm curious, like why was that important for you? To have that focus point on women's hormone health.
Well, women's hormone, because we all know women don't like to complain, right? But when they're complaining, when they do complain, they're really gone on the far end side, right? And so when women complain, that means they're in really, really bad shape. That they have not been heard yet. And when
Yeah,
you put them on the first time
that's
on
what
the
we're seeing.
camera or in your office, the 45 minutes is a very short amount of time for just to discuss what happened yesterday. Forget the last 10 years of what's going to last 10 years. So
Yeah,
I focused on women more so than men was because the the complexity was intriguing, but more importantly,
yeah,
I
I can see
thought that
that.
I was able to help them better because when women talk and they tell you what's wrong with you, they can literally pinpoint down exactly how they
They're much
feel.
more descriptive, much
Much
more
more
articulate
descriptive.
about their issues.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Guys are a little bit more
muted.
general session, yeah. And
Yeah,
so, and for women's health it's been I've been very blessed that I was fortunate to learn that women's health was came natural to me because I shouldn't say I'm a very good listener, but I was a better listener, and I heard the pain, and I was able to help
yeah,
resolve some of the issues with simple solutions. And after that, came the next step, right? Now what? Now my hormones are good. What else can I do? I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to go hiking again. I want to do every single thing. And then came the pyramid scheme and says, oh my God, I can help with the hormones. Can I help with the stress? Can I help with the nutrition? Can I help with every single thing? And if everything is functioning fine, can I do something else for you to gain your life back? And so
yeah.
uh, so thanks for asking. But yeah,
It's
that's my
it's been a
passion.
bit of a Trojan. It's interesting you say that because I feel like hormone health is a bit of a Trojan horse in our ultimate mission, which is to help our patients give their gifts at the highest level. Right? Like, and we see as like being here for service. Like what do we do, to help our patients live the fullest life, so then that way they can go and bring the most value into the world. But if you're suffering and you're in pain, it's kind of laughable to talk about self-actualization, or kind of laughable to talk about giving your gifts at the highest level, right? Because the emotional pain points of the pain of intimacy, of not being intimate with your partner, whether it's on the male side of low libido or erectile dysfunction, or on the women's side of low libido or pain during intercourse. These are things that are creating so much emotional turmoil, or on brain fog and lack of energy, or insomnia, sleep disturbances, and they're just robbing patients of their quality of life. And so it's so beautiful because with our program, since we focus so much on this emotional engagement piece, it allows us to be able to measure twice and cut once to validate and personalize the patient's plan. It also allows us to build a very deep bond, right? In this provider partnership, provider patient partnership. And we see this as something that then, we anticipate will last for the next 15 to 20 years with the patient, and see them through all sorts of different life seasons. Hormones are very different. It's not a set it and forget it. What we're ultimately looking to do is find the patient's hormonal bioidentity, so they can be optimized into the future. One of the questions I had, though, to kind of bring up and talk about is, we had identified that 76% of our female patients had listed weight loss as their number one goal, right? Which is a huge number as far as of interest and a pain point. Dr. Patel, you work deeply on rolling out semaglutide as far as for our patients. Can you talk a little bit about semaglutide, what it is, the kind of studies behind what it's doing for patients from a weight loss standpoint?
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that we have known for decades that average weight of person in America is climbing,
You're
and it
right.
hasn't decreased for at least last 30, 40 years now. And so, and everything stems from, we talked about the second bucket, which is insulin. It's the biggest bucket that we have. And without the proper diet, we are seeing a very, very steep rise of what we call insulin resistance in America. And
Hmm.
uh, semaglutide is a peptide. It's a peptide that has been approved by FDA for the reasons to help reduce insulin load. And when we do
Hmm.
that part, when the insulin starts leveling off, so does the weight. And so using the semaglutide as a peptide to level up insulin to help reduce the weight is one of the reasons why we think is that adding that as a supplement or adding that as a treatment program for our patients is going to help have a better outcomes on the hormones. Because again, they cannot do semaglutide by themselves because they have to have the mind first, and the hormones get them in a proper state of mind for them to make the right choices about nutrition.
Hmm.
So having the hormones taken care of it, and then adding solutions like semaglutide for the insulin resistance to help reduce that insulin load down to help them feel better, it's like an add-on. If there was some other peptides that can help do the same thing with the cortisols, you better believe we'll be launching that program next as well,
Yeah.
because that's the bottom of the that's a big behemoth that we have to move eventually
Yeah.
anyways too. But so having programs like these is to help our patients gain control of the body. At the end of the day, patients are in control of the body, and what we are doing is giving the mind back, helping with the nutrition and the insulin. If they need some vitamins, we are also thinking of bringing a whole customized packs for these patients to help better tailor-made their vitamin needs. So all those things eventually the patient becomes control of their own destiny, and we are just here to support them.
Yeah, I love that. It's so powerful. And, Dr. B, you're working with, male and female patients on a daily basis, who are, trying to deal with whether it's male patients, their thoracic fat, or for female patients, kind of their trunk fat. How how does this weight loss program with semaglutide support, help you support your patients? Like, how does this, how is this being included?
So I do let them know about the semaglutide peptide, but I tell them that this is just a small piece in a journey. It's going to require some more work, but it does help. It does. Um, Basically, like Dr. Patel said, getting control, helping them get control so that way they can continue to go to the gym or take those walks. and they see the results. So that way it's not going to lead into, or it will reduce hypertension, triglyceride levels. I mean, all of the above. So I do let them know about this. And it is very important. I mean, for the ones that feel like they can't get their BMI down, no matter what they do, this is actually help. It's not a quick fix or a pill for an ill, is what I call it. It's nothing like phentermine at all. So this is something that you are going to have to continue, or add in with your journey of hormone optimization and weight loss.
Yeah, and it's amazing as far as what studies have shown. There was one study with 1,306 patients taking semaglutide, and they were showing weight loss of approximately 6% of weight loss within by week 12, and 12% weight loss by week 28. And so, once a patient then gets to 28, because I think for anybody where weight loss is a focus, losing 12% of body weight's pretty exceptional as an outcome. But what do patients do to keep it off? Because we've all heard about diets where there's some sort of intervention, we lose the weight for a temporary period of time, but then if a patient gets started with you on semaglutide or on our weight loss plan as a part of the overall BHRT management, how do they keep the weight off?
So that's where the once the weight's gone, and in order for you to make sure that you don't fall in the same trap again of eating those wrong foods, you have to have proper hormone balance. And that's what it's like. We start with the hormones, we get them to the weight loss, and we then end them with the hormones again. Because without the hormones, they don't have the mental clarity, they have foggy thinking, their mood's not correct, they're not sleeping better, they're overall, all these pieces comes into play for making sure that they're making good choices for themselves.
Wow.
Because we all want to make the right choice. We all do, right? We all say that, okay,
Yeah.
eating junk food is bad, but you know what? If the bag of chips is thrown in front of me, let me take a couple of swabs at it, right? And having the self-control is so important. And to gain the control, you have to be hormonally optimized. And that's what the hormones comes into. It's like angel of life and angel of death. Too much is not right, and too little, you can't function. So you got to have the right amount, properly monitored by a team that is dedicated to have the whole life spent just on hormones to make sure the patients are happy. Because doctors don't have time to listen to patients. We do.
Yeah,
Right.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Please,
Your
Dr. B.
accountability partners, actually.
Yeah.
I will tell some of my patients, we are your accountability partners. We take a team approach, so because you're going to have to control every aspect of your life. We all have stress, good, bad, ugly, pretty, but you have to learn how to control it. So keep your cortisol down. I know cravings come, but you don't have to snack on this high saturated fat food. Make a different choice. Take a walk.
Yeah, I love that. This, and it's beautiful as far as this focus that Dr. B, that you have and our providers have as far as on lifestyle, and making sure that it's a complete plan. One of the things that I heard Dr. Patel say, and also you include as well too, in this focus on the weight loss, is that without having your hormones balanced, the weight loss is somewhat of a fatalistic approach, right? Because you're unfortunately always going to have this problem of putting back on these fatty deposits, like unless you can optimize for your hormones as well too. And it reminds me of this director of a weight loss clinic, who was working with us to implement a hormone health plan for their patients, because what they were saying is, we're setting patients up as far as with these weight loss plans, but they're not losing weight, or they lose weight and then they put it right back on. And it was exactly that. It's because of the hormone imbalance, right? And so as it seems as a weight loss intervention, semaglutide is an example. If we can help a patient lose 12% of their body weight, over a 28 week period, but then at the same time now balance their hormones. And then that, it sounds like what you're saying, Dr. Patel, like that's a recipe for long-term sustainable success.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we want to continue having success, but in my 25-year career as a pharmacist, I have seen all the weight loss fads have come and gone.
Yeah.
This is the first time we are actually making a difference, because now we have a peptide that can actually help with the insulin more than anything else. Every drug that we
Yeah.
had in the past was either we lose your appetite, or we lose your fat muscles of your fat cells faster, and then you gain right back. This is the first time is actually is affecting your insulin load, which gives me a hope that this is going to be long lasting, provided the patients are going to make the right choices afterwards. So
So Dr. Patel, like tell us. I mean, so why does it matter that semaglutide helps with managing your insulin load? Like, how does that translate into weight loss?
So insulin, as the insulin level rises, so does your sugar cravings and the carb cravings, and when the insulin levels are
I see.
high, it also brings a lot of metabolic stress on your body. Metabolic stress means a lot of accumulation of fat cells, right? And then that's where the BMI starts getting higher and higher for us. So in the whole cascade of all these different reactions happening, the first thing is insulin. We need to make sure that insulin level starts dropping slowly. If they can just start dropping slowly, everything else will start. It's like a domino effect. It will start falling one by one after another, right? But if we can't be attacking all the other metabolic disorders, we have to attack the insulin load first. If we can reduce that out, everything else. That's why it's a slow ramp up process, right? You slowly increase the medications of semaglutide until the patients are tolerable, and then keep the maintenance dose. And at the maintenance dose is when this starts seeing, by the month 3 is when they start seeing the weight loss starts happening. It's not the first week, right? So it takes a while to see the weight losses, because all the other uh, stressors that are affecting the insulin load is that one has to relax first. So that's what the whole process is. But once the load is down and the insulin load is down and everything else is okay, the patient can still make bad choices and the insulin levels can rise again. And so having to make sure the hormones are in proper control of your mind so you can make the right choices is to make sure that you have your hormones balanced at all times, while, before, during, and after semaglutide.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thank you so much for breaking it down. I think it helps to better understand like why insulin load is important and how that plays into effect of gaining or losing weight. I'm curious from both your guys' perspective. If a patient is on semaglutide and they're on Thrive Optum, um, what is the recommendations around eating windows and also caloric restriction? Like, are there any kind of guideposts that you're recommending as far as for patients that embark on this journey?
I usually tell, my patients, yes, intermittent fasting is good for some. It's not good for all. Um, Portion sizes should, I guess, be measured for a normal body. Your body has to learn how to utilize the fat that you intake for energy. So if you're over excessively eating, especially high saturated fats, your body's not going to know what to do with it. Insulin's going to rise, stay there. You're going to get the metabolic, the visceral fat is going to stay. So look at portion sizes. It's not necessarily about, it somewhat is about what you eat, but I would say about the amount of what you're eating,
Um,
because not all
I
diets work for everyone. Yeah.
I do agree with Dr. Bimisa on that one. That yes, as much as people have talked about intermittent fastings, uh, and I completely agree with intermittent fasting as well. That we should have some window of when we should eat and when we should not eat. You should not be eating 3 hours before you go to sleep, anyways.
Yeah,
You should not be eating as soon as you wake up the first thing in the morning. You got to give the body a chance to recuperate. So
Exactly.
if you just do 3 hours before you sleep, and maybe it's like 3 hours after you wake up, that gives you like 12, 15 hours of window that you're not eating anyway. So to me, that's intermittent fasting to begin with. But the
Exactly.
key is the portion size, right? When can you
Yeah.
see a dessert coming down the food line and say, you know what? No, thank you. I'm going to pass on that today.
Yeah.
That commitment is required, and it comes from you. It doesn't come from any doctors or anybody. It comes from the patient themselves, that they have to make the choice right there. And I'm not going to be there to tell the patient, oh, you cannot eat this today. I'm sorry. They have to make the choice themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nothing tastes as good as discipline, right? Like, because
Yes.
I love a good dessert just like anybody else. But it's interesting. Going through different seasons. Like right now, me and my wife are on a season of not having desserts like after dinner, and it's going through those. There's something about obviously feeling good in your body, right? And like you have this like momentary release of endorphins, and from having some dessert, but then right after you feel bad again. You know what I mean? You're like, I did it again. It got me again. Like 2 minutes of good. Now I'm gonna feel bad for the next 2 days. And the taste of discipline feels so good. And it's interesting as well too. Like intermittent fasting. I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. I eat at 10 and 5. But I've noticed as far as like my wife, for example, she's read a lot about this, and she can feel as well too, just spike in her cortisol levels for intermittent fasting, and so whereas sometimes I'll be on nomad diet of just one meal a day, that doesn't work for her. You know what I mean? Like her cortisol levels are just like off the sheet. Her body's just stressed. And so it does seem like that, with what you guys are saying, that, each body is different. It seems when you're talking about portion sizes, I think we all can feel, that when we exercise, we need to eat some more, slightly more. And when we don't, we should eat less. You know what I mean? And so, I was talking to somebody yesterday. He was like, I got injured. I wasn't moving for a couple of weeks. I go, but let me guess, you were still maintain the same level of
Yeah.
portions. Yep. Okay. And that's why I put on 20 pounds. Right. And so it's so important, I think, to reflect on the amount of exercise that we're having compared to our portion sizes as well, too, to ensure that, we can maintain that proper level. And it also is like amazing, like too, like I think Dr. B, you talked about just measuring portion sizes. And for some folks, this is just something that's just they're not willing to do. But if you want real results and you want them fast, measuring your macros and micros like that ultimately is going to translate to success for you, right? I mean, like, because then what you're putting in your body as far as calories, protein, carbs, and you're going to have a much better idea as far as how you're going to put on or lose weight. I know we're coming up close here. I wanted to talk a little bit about like something else that's really important. And Dr. Patel is the author of the Glutathione Revolution, and also with patents as far as in glutarol for glutathione. You've educated all of our clinicians and a lot of folks now with your book on the benefits of glutathione. I wonder if maybe you could just give us like a high level. What are the benefits? Like, why is it important that someone is on glutarol or glutathione? What are the benefits that they could see, and are there any downsides?
Absolutely. So this is my favorite subject, of course, and it's the reason is because every human cell, every living cell in your body has glutathione in there, and
Mm.
as we age, the level starts dropping slowly, and it's not because we're producing very less amount. We are producing less, granted, but our needs are still the same. So when the needs and our production has a change in there, as the year goes by, the change becomes wider and wider, and so we have less of glutathione in our body, and our needs have far surpassed what our body can produce. And when that imbalance happens, is when we have onset of diseases, metabolic diseases. We have onset of our body getting full of toxicities, and heavy metals and chemicals and metabolites, and the liver gets taxed all the time. And so optimizing glutathione levels in your body was always been my dream. And if I can do that effectively, I'll be able to keep our body clean from inside the whole time. Isn't that what we want? And so it's So again, Josh, thanks for reminding me, but I was doing that research 14, 15 years ago on glutathione. And when we discovered the way to deliver glutathione to your human bodies for the first time, it took me 12 years just to do research to figure out how much to give, how to give, when to give, how long can I keep on giving this glutathione, can I do it forever, and things like that. And so I did 12 years of research before I launched the book and the
Wow.
products to support that, and just to make sure that I was doing things correctly. But the reason why I'm so passionate about glutathione today is because that's the only chance. That's the only product that's produced by the humans that gives you a fighting chance to survive through anything, right? If the levels are good, it can keep your liver clean at all times. A clean liver means a clean body. It can literally fight infections because it can improve your immune systems immediately. And we have known in the last 3 years during this great pandemic that people that were immunocompromised were the most susceptible to diseases. And having the immune system intact at all times, our body is self-sufficient. It produces enough glutathione. Replace those back to normal. We don't have to do anything else. So that's why I'm so passionate about this one at this point. And we are just in the cusp of the research at this point. We have already done 2 clinical trials. We are funding more clinical trials this year. And I think it's going to be the next 5 years, just watch out. We should be having a lot more studies coming out to support what we're trying to do is to have optimum health for all our patients.
Yeah, I love that, and thank you so much for that background. And I'm constantly learning from you, as we all are, as far as on this area on glutathione and the benefits. And one of the ways that you broke it down for me that made it easy to understand is you said, well, like imagine your body like a pool, and your liver and kidneys are like the filters, right? They're at the ends of the pool. They have these little white caps that you pull up, and then if you pull up that white cap, there's all going to be all sorts of junk in there, right? Because we have all these environmental toxins, like all this stuff that we're eating that's just polluting our body. Our body doesn't know what to do with it, right? And so the liver and kidneys are just chock full of it, right? And as you explained it, like glutathione, like over a 30-day period of time, like what it does is it goes in and cleans out that pump. So it's like now your body can actually process, correctly without having this junk that's bogging it down.
Absolutely. And it's not the junk in the colon, because that people think that detoxing means just empty the colon out and you'll be fine. The junk is actually in the kidneys. Oh, sorry,
Mm,
not in the kidneys. Well, kidneys too a little bit, but it's in the liver. Because liver it
mm.
holds all the toxic metabolites, toxic chemicals, everything inside that one. That needs to be cleaned out every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I've seen that in my life. Just as you've introduced me to glutathione, and it's I have so much love and respect for you, and also just in my life of being there for me. Like whenever I'm experiencing something, he's like, care package on the way. I got you, Josh, and all of a sudden the glutathione will show up next day, and there it is, and within a few days I'm fully restored. So it's definitely been a miracle as far as in my life, and something that I've passionately shared with others around me. I think just in closing, I just want to tell you guys how much I love and respect you, and what an honor it is to be on this journey with you, to be working with folks that are so passionate about impact and being here for service of others. And I think this mission of making hormone health accessible and affordable nationwide is so critically important with this absolute avalanche of hormone imbalances that we're seeing for patients across the age spectrum, because of environmental toxins, uh, chronic stress, diet, the way we live our lives. I think for any listeners listening now, like if you're in pain, you're experiencing symptoms, we offer a free self-assessment, for you to check out and see the probability of imbalance. We offer some free consultations as well too. You can have also a 45-minute consultation with a specialist in this space for only $45. It's critical for us that you find the support that you need so you can live life to the fullest. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time here today and for being on this journey with me. I appreciate you.
No, thank you very much for having us as well.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Thank you so much.